Hello, everybody. Welcome to your pronunciation workshop. This pronunciation workshop will be based essentially on my experience on pronunciation and the things that I have learned so far in my 8,000 hours of class here in Colombia. Of course, there's tons of systems and tons of tools available. Some I find relevant and useful. Some are perhaps useful for you as a teacher, but maybe not so much for the student specifically. So the discussion will pretty much revolve around the practicality of things and the functionality of it. So our goals today are really going to be to help you simplify for the student the complex world of pronunciation. And by simplifying, I mean, what tips can you give them to help them improve without necessarily becoming a linguist themselves? They don't need to know the technical terms. They don't need to know all the phonetic symbols. They just need to know the easiest way that they can get pronunciation as close as accurately as possible. So that's one of the goals. The other goal is to help students manage their frustration with pronunciation and the variation in pronunciation. And the tips, of course, will help them with that. Mostly to help them get away from one of the things, and I'm speaking specifically of Spanish speakers. One of the biggest problems for them is that when they see a word, they try to adapt the pronunciation of that word to the things and the sounds that they know from Spanish. And so the first thing that they need to really sort of gain awareness of is to understand that the vowels, even though they are similar, even though they look the same, they're not the same. And even though the consonants look the same and they have a similar position in the mouth to say them in English, they're not necessarily the same. And so the third goal of this workshop is to help the students get away from thinking of English in terms of Spanish and get them to rely on their ear more than on their eyes, which of course Spanish is a very visual learner type of language because spelling and pronunciation are pretty consistent. So those are the three main goals. So before we start going over the tips on what they can do to get better in pronunciation, we're going to begin with you as a teacher, what you need to know to guide your students. Not all of this you need to share in class, because some of this will be technical jargon that your students don't need to know. So the first and perhaps most important thing for me is the influence of the rhythm over the individual pronunciation of a word. Rhythm is key in influencing pronunciation. In my view and in my concept, it's because English is a stress time language, a language that groups things together and strings sounds together, that many of the vowels have gone away from the pronunciation, and that's why when you try to say a word that has many vowels, it's difficult to say. And so really get your students to understand the language in the rhythm perspective. And for that, of course, all of you received some kind of training from me before on the rhythm aspect, and you know what I mean with the rhythm. But what is really important is that one of the aspects that helps English connect words and do the groupings in a sentence it's the vibration of the voice. So one of the first things that you need to realize and be aware is notice how the vibration has a continuation throughout the group. Spanish has these pauses, and these pauses are a break in vibration. Many of the key sounds in English come from only vibration. And this vibration really means to activate the voice in your throat. It's like a hum. If you put your hand on your throat, you can hear this humming vibration. And so try to not let go of that vibration when you're saying a group. So let's say today we're going to talk about pronunciation. Today we're going to talk about pronunciation. There's not a break in the vibration. When in Spanish you will hear something like this. Today we will hear Yes, so that's a big trick.
Never stop the.
No, of course, the groupings are not a scientific, like this has to be the group. You can organize things together. What should not happen in English is that you see break, 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 like you see in Spanish, because Spanish is very syllabic. Hoy voy a estudiar. In English, it would be like tra la 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 la. Yeah, the vibration keeps going. And so that's, for me, that's what really helps me to understand pronunciation. So key concepts. Number one is syllable stress. Stress is quite important for Spanish speakers, because many words that are similar in English and in Spanish, they typically have opposite stress, emphasis.
For instance?
Importante, important. The stress is in a different syllable.
Yeah.
When in Spanish, a lot of the words have a stress at the end. In English, a lot of the words have emphasis at the beginning or earlier. So, of course, a student, when they see a word, they don't know where the right emphasis is, and so they'll just have to learn by listening. But you as a teacher should know and should be aware of stress and the stress difference, because you as a teacher can point out differences with different tools. So, for example, give me a word.
Comfortable.
Comfortable. Comfortable. Where is the stress? In what syllable?
The first.
In the first syllable. Yeah. And how would you show that to the student?
Because all of them got already their dictionary. So in the dictionary, if the stress is before beginning the word, so I point out, hey, you must pronounce from the beginning. The stress.
So you tell them the stress is in the first syllable, or how do you show them that?
Yeah, that's the way
You explain it.
Yep.
What if you write it down, or what if they write it down?
They have to use marker. They got to use like improve,
right,
like this. That's the stress for
so
them.
You highlight the syllable that has the stress.
They must have
great.
Marker.
And that's a great way to do it. You can highlight it, you can write that portion of the word bigger, or you can use the tilde that they already know. Of course, that's not part of the spelling of the word. It's just for you to show where the stress of the word is.
Pretty good.
Another system that I have seen is draw circles over each of the syllables, little circles, and you draw a bigger circle where there's more stress, and a little circle where there's no stress. And so for a long word with many syllables, like international, Maybe the first couple are little circles. National is a big circle, and then the next syllable is, so not all the circles have to be the same stress, because the words are not necessarily stress equal in terms of emphasis. So you can use that as a tool as well. The second thing that you must have in mind is the difference in consonant sounds when they are voiced and when they are voiceless. And the difference between voiced and voiceless is that one carries the vibration that I was talking about, and one does not. One is air coming out. And
like
so, like for example, there's two consonant sounds that are very common. They have the same position in the mouth, absolutely the same, but they sound different because one is voiced and one is voiceless, and that's the difference between the F and the V. The F is the position of your teeth over your mouth,
like
and air is coming out.
Very. Okay.
No vibration, just air. Whereas the V is the same position, exactly the same position, teeth over bottom lips.
Yeah.
But instead of air, you vibrate. And that vibration comes from your throat. So you can play with it and say. If you search on YouTube, you'll find many videos that talk about voice and voiceless consonants. Again, this is not a concept that you should teach your students necessarily, but
¿Te necesita una chica María Chávez?
no, que lo deje abajo, gracias. Es que estoy aquí en grabación. Gracias. So you don't necessarily need to teach this to your students, but you need to be aware of it. What you do need to teach them is this vibration.
Give me some examples from F.
With F? Funny, 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 fun. Yes? Figure, felony, flower, volcano, 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 volcano. And it's the same thing with the S when it's voiced and the S when it's not voiced. The S can sound like a Z.
Yeah.
Yes? It's the same thing. You're activating your throat. Or this is very difficult for students, but it's quite crucial because simple words that they taught us incorrectly way from the beginning, like for example the verb to be, the is, it's not is, it's not voiceless, it's voiced.
Yeah.
Is. There should be vibration in that S. It's not is, it's is.
Well, what I say to my students is that they've got to pronounce it like a Z.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's the same sound. That's what it means to be voiced.
Okay.
To vibrate.
Okay. Cool.
That's the third concept that you need to understand as a teacher, is that there are, of course, silent letters, vowels that are not pronounced, consonants that are not pronounced. And for me, what helps me understand why is because each word has a different root as a language. And so many words in English come from French. And so therefore the ending of the word is not pronounced. So I tell them this like a bad French pronunciation. Like it's not buffet or ballet. It's buffet and ballet.
Wow.
So that's important for you to understand. And the reason why one of these letters is not pronounced is because it comes from a different language. Maybe French, maybe Old German, maybe Old English, maybe some type of Anglo-Saxon language in which they use facade or facade.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So depending on the word root,
Okay.
you might not listen to the ending of that word or the pronunciation of that letter. Like, for example, they have comb. I comb my hair.
Mm-hmm.
There has a B, but you don't say comb. So that's why it's important to get your student out of the visual learning comfort zone and into listening. One thing that you can know or be aware of is that when you have a silent E at the end of a word, it typically makes the previous consonant very long.
Again, excuse me, again. Give me an example.
Like, for example, the word silence. The final E is not pronounced, and that typically has the effect of making that consonant longer and making the other vowel, the one that is pronounced, long. Like, for example, the word drive. Drive. Because the E is not pronounced, the other vowel will be stretched. I. So it won't be one of those short pronunciations like I.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the long I. Drive. Live.
And it's here, in here, no?
Exactly.
Ooh.
We'll come back to that when I tell you like the tips. And then the last concept that you need to be aware as a teacher to sort of pay attention to important things are long vowels versus short vowels. So here's where we start learning general IPA technique. IPA technique is helpful for you as a teacher, maybe not so much as a student. So I'm going to borrow what you brought. So our guest teacher here brought a list, and she brought a list of the different symbols in the international pronunciation. I forget what it is, the IPA. And of course, there's so many symbols and so many different strategies, and it's actually a very smart and clever system. And if you learn to use it, then it can be a really good guide for you. The problem is that most people have difficulty, unless you're a linguist, memorizing this, because it's kind of like learning a whole new language. You're learning a whole new alphabet. So that's kind of pointless in a sense. So instead of looking at a complete list of the IPA symbols, you might look at simplified versions. And there's a few. There's one that is called the color vowel chart. And this colored vowel chart is quite a simple way of getting the correct vowel sounds through the colors. So that by association is much simpler.
The color
vowel chart. I'll share the link.
You already sent it to me.
Here's another one. It's by Mark Hancock. It looks like the color palette. I'll share it with you for a second. Yes.
Yeah.
And it just has, just like the IPAs, is exactly the same system. It just has a little bit more user friendliness because it's color coded. It has the stress of the word and it has the example under each symbol. So it's a little bit more user friendly. At the end of the day, what you really need to know out of this is that some vowels are long and some vowels are short. What short vowels mean to me, in my experience, and going back to the rhythm aspect that we talked about, is that these vowels are eliminated from the pronunciation of the word. And really, the sound that you hear is a byproduct of the pronunciation of two kind of strong consonants.
For instance, give me an
Give me an example. Give me a word. Any word.
Oye, hold on.
Okay, let's.
Dictionary.
Dictionary. So, of course, everything, this would be like a footnote. Everything that I'm telling you is based on my experience. And of course, each different dialect has their own take. Like, for example, some people can say dictionary. Some people even go to the extent of saying dictionary, depending where you're from. Different. Let's take different, for example. Different. Tell me so it's different. It has 3 syllables, but really written, but by sound, it only has 2 syllables. Different. Notice that the middle vowel is eliminated.
Yes.
So if you look at the dictionary, it probably gives you. It doesn't eliminate that vowel.
No.
It gives you a sound and a symbol for that sound. But there makes no sense for you to learn a sound because the most natural way and the way that that sound came from was from the elimination of that vowel. So just like, for example, you don't say different. No, you just say the pronunciation of the F and the R together. Fur, 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 fur. And that's the sound that you see in the IPA. You don't need to know that this is the backwards E. Just don't say it. Just say the F and the R together, keeping the vibration. Fur. Fur. Different. Different. You're saying the D, not the D and the I. Different.
Okay.
So stop looking at the. So that's what you need to first digest yourself and express to your students. Like, stop thinking of the vowels and assimilating the Spanish and applying the Spanish to what you see. It's not. A lot of the things that you should, the natural way of saying it would be to eliminate it and focusing on the consonants. So what the long and short vowel mean to me is, do you extend the vowel, do you stretch it, or do you eliminate it? This, of course, is an oversimplification.
I like that.
Yes, it's an oversimplification, but the oversimplification is great for beginner levels to teach them more accurately from the beginning. And then later, when you're more advanced, then you can start going into the more specific details. But most people, I would say that up to a B2, they don't really need to get into this tiny differences. Yes.
Could you give me an example with when you say
of a long vowel?
Just one, different 3 examples for each.
For example,
when you
so one word may have short and long vowels. Yeah. For example, black. Black.
Okay.
It's not black. Black.
Yeah.
Yes. And one example that really helps me teach functional things to the student, because the idea of pronunciation ultimately is that your student is understood and that your student can understand what is being said to them. You know, who cares if they have a slight accent, as long as they are being able to communicate and being understood and understanding other people, who cares about the small differences? They're not studying to be linguists, ultimately. So one very functional example is the difference between this singular and these plural.
Yeah.
This singular is the prime example of a short vowel. It's the sound that you hear, the vowel sound that you hear is the byproduct of the th and the th together. This, without missing that vibration. This. You're not trying to say these or this or this or das. It's not a vowel. It comes naturally when you say the th and the s together. This.
Yeah, cool.
Yes. However, the plural of it, it's a long vowel. You stretch it, and so I exaggerate and I write many e's on the board so that they know that it's a long vowel, because it's not one sound. It's two sounds. It's not e. It's e. It's almost as you saying e. These. In addition,
The Z sound. Yeah.
the voiced S sound because of the silent E at the end. These. Yes?
Yeah.
These. So that's the general things that you should know.
Hold on. How come here when you've got this, according to the dictionary, you don't pronounce like Z, you pronounce like S. That's what I understood.
It should be voiced.
V. It's like S. It's like S.
Ah, the singular.
Yeah.
But the plural
Z.
is is a voice.
So what's the? I don't see
this. These.
So this one is like this is the air. The first is the
air.
The
first one, because it doesn't have a silent E at the end.
This.
No.
Yeah. Air.
Voiceless.
Got it. No,
Voiceless. But the plural is these.
Yeah.
Because it vibrates.
Yes, I get it.
Okay, so moving on onto the second part, which is really how to teach pronunciation to your students. Now that you know the system and the system is helpful to you, how do you teach them? And it's so main idea. Pronunciation doesn't need to be perfect, and there is no perfect pronunciation. When I talk about the voicing, the vibration, with one of our British teachers, she says, no, that's not voiced in the UK, and that's true, and that's why you see some differences in spelling. In American English, it's organize.
Yeah. Or realize and realize.
Yeah. But in British, they spell it with an S. Some people voice and some people don't. So I'm giving you the general, but no thing is perfect, and language is not fixed into the confines of forever. It's flexible and it changes, and it will continue to change. One example that I give for that is the word balcony. Balcony is a word that came from Italian. And was originally pronounced balcony, more closely to the Italian version of the word, balcony. But because that doesn't work so well with the grouping of the language, eventually it morphed into balcony.
Okay.
So none of this is perfect, and none of this is I'm not quite done. So none of this is perfect, and it's important for your students to understand that language is constantly changing, but that they should understand the basics. So that's number one. So the first thing that you should teach them is this concept of the rhythm. Today I won't focus so much on the rhythm because all of you teachers have received this kind of training on the rhythm. But if you want to look more into it, search for stressed time language. Spanish is a syllabic language. However, English is a stressed time language. And there's plenty of YouTube videos that you can look at that will help you make sense of what I mean by the rhythm of the language. Stress timed language. That's the description of the rhythm of English. It really essentially means that some parts of the word will be stressed and some will be condensed. And the condensation is there to give way to the groupings. If you don't condense some sounds, it's very difficult to group things together. So once you have taught them the rhythm, one thing that has worked great for me is to teach them, one, to keep that humming sound throughout. Teach them rhythm and word grouping over vowel sounds. That humming should never stop in the middle of a group. Between groups, you can stop it, but generally try to keep that vibration going.
Do you have an example for that?
Like for example, if I say teach them rhythm and word grouping over specific vowel sounds. Tra la 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 la, tra la 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 la, tra la 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 la. Yeah, that's typically the rhythm in English. Tra la 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 la, tra la 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 la, da 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 da. Like at the end, they sort of land the plane.
Cool.
This is, of course, not standard. This is, I'm not talking about intonation going up or going down. I'm meaning about the rhythmical grouping of the words. So that's very useful. So I teach my students, and it has worked very well, to focus on consonant sounds rather than on vowels. And so these are the following consonants that I recommend you emphasize, even though all the consonants, of course, are important. These specifically, I find that in English are especially longer. I'm talking about the L, the M, the N, the R, the S, and the F. I exaggerate them because in Spanish, these consonants are quite short. They're touch and go, touch and go. For example, I use the word elephant to illustrate. In Spanish, say elephant in Spanish.
Yeah, elephant.
In Spanish.
Elefante. Elefante. Elefante.
Yes. Now pay attention to your tongue when you say it. What is it doing? Say it normally.
Okay, elefante.
Yes. And describe with your hands the movement of your tongue and the position on the roof of your mouth. For example, like this would be the roof of your mouth and this will be your tongue. So these, like looking at your mouth sideways, these would be the teeth, and I will act like this is the tongue inside the mouth. So, elefante, elefante.
Elefante.
It's a gentle tap. Ele, 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 ele.
Yeah.
It's quite a gentle tap, and it's very quick. Elefante, elefante, elefante.
Yeah.
Yes, it's very, very, very quick. And that's particularly difficult to get across because essentially
Okay, okay.
It's very difficult to get across because people see the L and they recognize it is the same position of the mouth in English and in Spanish. However, the length is quite different. Now say it in English.
Elephant.
Yeah, notice how the L rests on the top of your mouth much longer.
Yeah.
Much longer. So it's not elephant, it's elephant. Yes? It stays there much longer.
Yeah.
Elephant. And if you go even, you extend and you watch a native speaker position their mouth, sometimes you learn that for them to say the L, like an L, they're not even touching the roof of their mouth. L.
L.
Okay. L.
Wow.
Oil.
No,
Yes.
Juanin, I think this it's worth. I mean, this class worth. Yeah, you know, like
Yes.
another hour, another day, another month.
Yes. This is a warm up.
Pretty
So
interesting.
if you teach your students to focus on consonant length and exaggerate.
Is there a curve with the in English like L no elephant like this no in the
in your tongue, you mean like do you?
Yeah, like this no.
L. It's actually, it might be a little bit flatter, your tongue. Of course, there's a science to this too, and they show you graphically how to position each consonant and each vowel. But it's not, I wouldn't recommend you teach that to the students because it's not practical.
Yeah.
So now that we're in the emphasis to the student, I would say just tell them to make these consonants longer. Like, for example, if they're going to read the following sentence, make emphasis on the consonant length. Yeah, this short part, I tell them, and I might write it on the board, but I will write the words with 3 consonants. Yeah, so I tell them, make emphasis on these consonants. So read it. Make emphasis on consonant length. Make them exaggerate that, and then bring it back a little bit and make it more normal, because the effect that has when you make them stretch the consonants subconsciously without thinking about it, because of the nature of the language, they will eliminate vowel sounds. And so you don't have to teach them to eliminate the vowel sounds if you teach them to stretch the consonant sound.
Yeah.
Make them. Emphasis. You don't have to say emphasis. Emphasis on consonant sound. Really stretch that S, really stretch that M. The F, emphasis, or the PH is essentially the same F sound. Make them stretch that.
Again, give me that first.
Make emphasis.
Make
emphasis. Make them.
No.
Make. So it's not make emphasis. Make emphasis.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Make emphasis on consonant sound. Sorry. Make emphasis on consonant length.
How come you say length? Which this is TH, no? TH at the end. But you didn't mention T and you didn't mention H. Because here's length.
I didn't mention the TH because the TH is honestly not like is it a consonant, the TH? The T and the H are a consonant, but the TH, is it a consonant by itself in the APA?
Okay.
I think it must.
Longer.
Of course, yeah. You can include the TH. I didn't include it because I'm not sure that that's a consonant by itself.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, this sound of course applies. Yeah, make it long. Yeah, these are not the only consonants. These are the consonants that I find that are common. Like, for example, the R. Where's your car? Where is your car? Car. If I tell them to really say the C as in k, very strong, and make the R very long, they will not say car. No, They will say car, and they will reach the correct vowel pronunciation because of the consonant length. Car.
Cool.
Yeah, then the other thing that I tell them as a tip is to really practice that vibration. Of course, in Spanish, there's a difference between the B and the V, while most people don't speak it correctly in Spanish, and we say vaca. It's quite important in English, and so really get them to practice that vibration, the V, volcano, the volume.
Hold on, this is air.
Volume.
Hold on. Okay, yeah.
Volcano,
okay, so
yeah.
this is and funny. Okay.
Yeah, that's different. The difference, the B and the V is not the same. It's not the same position of the mouth. These two consonants are very different position of the mouth. One is this is the roof of your mouth, and this is your bottom teeth. Teeth over bottom lips. V. V. V.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Teeth over bottom lip. B, lip to lip. B. Of course, that's kind of simple and straightforward, but sometimes you have to go back to that.
Excuse me, when you mentioned here, like a very.
That one's voiced. It's a voice sound. It vibrates.
Still you've got this, but you've got
yes.
you've got
yes.
this.
What I'm saying is that the B is not a voiceless sound. It's not like there's no air through the B. But yeah, teach them that difference. The same with the S and the voiced S or the Z sound. Of course, the Y never as a strong consonant like Jew or Jello. The Y in English is always like an E Latina in Spanish. Yellow, yesterday. Those are key concepts. And one that people don't typically touch on, but it's quite important, is the explosiveness of the consonants. Like the consonants T, D, C. Because even though they have, again, the same position in the mouth than in English, they are quite a lot more explosive in English. So it's not today, in which the tongue rests for a longer period in Spanish than in English. It's like today. The opposite happens in English. Now, instead of the L, where the L is a lot longer in English the T and the D are more explosive. T, D. It's like this drum. Yes, and that's a very useful thing to teach them. Like, for example, the plural of cat. It's not cat. It's cat. Cat. And the plural, cats. It's like that. Yeah, but teach them that sound because it's a good way for them. Some people have a really tough time pronouncing the TS.
Together, tomorrow.
Together, today. Make it more explosive. And
what
so,
about, give me this, the day.
Today. Today.
And with the C? Cat.
For example, consonant. Not no. It's in Spanish. It's a little bit longer. The sound rests a little bit longer on the back of your mouth. The tongue rests a little bit flatter and a little bit longer. Consonant. But in English, it's
a K.
It's exactly like a K. Yeah, consonant. So if you explode it, then your vowel will be placed correctly.
Yeah.
Of course, you've seen me use my hands to show the student where to put their tongue in their mouth. I find that to be a good system. There's many others like drawing this out of the mouth and putting the dots, but it's visually it's not so easy to understand. So use whatever system is simple for your student, but you know the basic idea is that they know what they're doing. They don't have to practice this. If you teach them to focus on rhythm and focusing on consonants, they don't have to worry about whether a vowel is long or short, or whether it's the hat symbol or the you know, they don't have to worry about the specifics yet. Till they're more advanced, probably.
So the only explosive consonant are TDC.
TDC. I'm sure there's more. I'm giving you examples.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I mean.
Let me see your chart. The consonant chart where but this one doesn't. The B is also, the B and the P are also explosive. Pet, 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 pet.
Okay. PN.
Yeah.
PN.
Pet.
And the other one?
The
PN.
The P is explosive. I don't know.
B.
Depends.
No, B no.
Bin. No, it's softer. Yeah, I don't know. This is not a great list. Let me see your dictionary. Yeah.
Yeah, but are the same thing.
Okay, here you go. The D. Sometimes the G, depending on the word. Gap, gap, gap. Not so much. The H can be hot, hot, hospital, but not as much as the other ones.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So if all else fails, then teach them. You know, like if they're still not getting it with the oversimplification of just focusing on the rhythm and just focusing on the consonant, and maybe there's a word in which you need to be and you need to go a little bit more specific, then do use one of those more simplified phonetic systems like the color vowel chart or Mark's system. But if that still doesn't work, then use their weakness to your advantage. Their weakness is thinking of English in terms of Spanish, in which they really visualize the word and try to imitate the sounds. So use the system of phonetics that they understand, because Spanish is very consistent, and write things like they would expect to see it with similar Spanish sounds. Like the example that I use is the animal, mouse. Mouse. And so instead of, so you write the word correctly with the spelling, and then in parentheses, to show them that this is only the pronunciation, it's very important that you're consistent.
Always. That's
you know.
part of the, yeah,
and so in parentheses, I use the parentheses to show them that's where I'm going to tell you the pronunciation. And then in the parentheses, I might write M-A-U-S, mouse. M-A-U-S, how they would say it in Spanish, right? But if there's a special condition that I really want to emphasize in them learning, for example, a vibration or the stress or a consonant length, then you try to use a system that they understand very easily. So for this word specifically, I write 2 M's and 2 S's. So they really, really emphasize on the consonant length. Mouse. Mouse. And that's more accurate than just saying mouse, mouse, because they will read the original one as mouse, mouse, which is not how a native person would say it. Mouse. Because of the short nature of the consonant length in Spanish.
Yeah, cool.
Another example would be like the word international. This is the symbol of E-N-A that you see in the IPA.
Here.
Yeah, like black, cat. cat, of course, it depends whether you're from Boston or from New York or from Australia. That sound will change.
Yeah.
Maybe in Great Britain it'll be block or cut. You know, so like they won't move it or slide it or glide it, or they might position it in the mouth a little bit different. But in general, like for example, for international, then I would write it, and in my parentheses, this is how I write it. NTR dash NA with a tilde or a stress symbol in the A, dash SH, because there's no SH sound in Spanish, but they understand sh, and NL, dash NL, sorry. International. And here, I didn't write any of the vowels that they don't need, because if they say the N, inter, that's all they need. Inter, ter. I don't need that vowel in the middle between the T and the R. Inter. That's where the length goes. Tional, you contract again. International. And so that might be a little bit easier for them to get.
Cool.
So all in all, the idea is to simplify things as much as you can for them.
Yeah, I love that.
And to create a system that works for them. So I use a lot of the Spanish adaptations to a pronunciation. You might change things a little bit for them to really get it. Like for example, if you really want them to stretch the black, you might write an EA, yeah, so that they go like yeah, and then you bring it back. It's easier to exaggerate and then bring it back than just have the absence of it.
So this means that it's like black, like
yeah, that you're
like,
exactly, yeah. You can of course join them and say that you're going to use your nose, so exaggerate.
Use your nose.
It's up to, well, like for example in this symbol, the
really?
AE, it's not completely nasal like Portuguese.
Okay.
But you can exaggerate for them to understand.
How do you
Blah, yeah, it's very nasal. So I exaggerate a lot for them to get it. Cat,
but I mean,
what?
For that it's AE. What else? What?
I don't know. Out of the top of my head, I don't know.
Okay.
And depends, of course, of the region and accent that
I
you
know,
have.
but that contraction. It's like not another. There's no.
No. I don't mean the E. I mean the E. IPA, EA. I mean this symbol that they have here. Yeah, this one. So like all these words would be nasal.
Okay.
Cat, ankle, ran, drank, match, I'm exaggerating because when you exaggerate, your students won't exaggerate as much, and so they will give it to you right.
Yeah.
So if you exaggerate and they go halfway, they will they will do it precisely.
Love it.
Yeah.
Could you please read this to me?
So I'm gonna read you the words in the IPA that we read for at the beginning. Of course, I'm not native, and I don't say this precisely how a native person would say them, but I approximate for you to understand the different sounds. And for me to show you which ones are short and which ones are long, I'm using the dictionary one, not this one. So it's better.
But I would like this one.
No, because this is easier.
Really?
So if you take
because this is very easy, very.
But no, I like the system better. So just I'll record it and then send it to you. So according to the symbols, you'll see that it's not so necessary. So like for example, the I with the little colon next to it.
The first one.
Yeah, the first one. The example is beat, as in Millonarios beats Santa Fe. Beat.
Longer.
This is a long vowel. E. So what I use for that is write 2 I's in a row. E, E, so that they know that it's longer. Beat, E.
Yeah.
The second one, it's a short vowel, just like we saw in this. For that, the dictionary symbol, the IPA, only has the I. The
One
simple I,
yeah.
one I. And so all you need to do is eliminate it. It's a short vowel. Bit, bit, bit.
Yeah, without
bit.
the I.
Yeah.
Without the I.
Don't say the I. Bit.
Cool, Cool.
Then the next one is the E, the regular E, and the example is bet, as in I bet $1 million. But this one is long, so I write 2 E's in a row for my students, because it's not bet.
No?
It's not bet. It's not 1 beat. It's like 2 beats. Bet.
Bet.
Yeah, make it longer. Bet. It's
Cool.
a long vowel.
Okay.
Then is that A combined with the E that you see in the dictionary, and
that's
the
example.
Yeah, that's the nasal one. And so the example that they have there is a baseball bat, bat,
Bet.
bat.
Bet.
Again,
Like A-E.
yeah,
Okay.
or with your nose a little, bat, bat. But of course, it depends where you're from. You know, like maybe in England that's bat, or I don't know.
Yeah.
So
okay.
so that's not fixed.
For American, yeah. Like bat.
Then
Okay.
then the next one they have is this A with a colon. And this is a short vowel too.
So BR. Bar.
Bar, bar, bar. So here the trick is to make the R super long. Bar.
Okay.
The A is coming from the R sound.
Again.
The A in the word is coming from the R sound.
Yeah.
So one trick that helps them a ton is to push the R back.
Okay.
Exaggerate. Put your tongue way back in your mouth.
Bar.
Bar. And keep it there. Bar.
But I thought that
Bar.
movement was only for first.
I'm exaggerating, but what I want them to do is generate the correct sound.
Okay. Wow.
Bar. So if you push your tongue way back, bar, it's easier for them to capture. And if they're trying to approximate the R to the Spanish R, bar, bar, in front of their mouth.
Nice.
The next one is,
Black.
I don't know what symbol this is. It's like a D. Like
A. It's an A.
It's an A?
Yeah.
Okay. I think it's like a D, like a caps, in caps. No? Yeah, it's like a D in caps. And so the example that they give you is block. Block, block, block.
Block.
Block. It's also on like on the roof of your mouth, but not nasal.
But I don't
block.
see it in the roof. I see it down.
Block.
I see your
block.
I see your
block.
Your tongue.
Block.
Here. Wow.
But it's not. But the sound, the projection of the sound, not where my tongue is, but the projection of the sound is in the middle of your mouth and on the top. Block. Block.
But your tongue is up, down.
Yes.
Okay.
But the projection and the vibration of the sound is in the middle of your mouth on the top.
Okay.
Block. This one's a little bit longer, so you can't really eliminate it. But again, the trick is making the L very long. Block. Keep the vowel short, keep the consonant long.
Again, block.
But don't forget that the C is explosive.
Hijo, claro. So, block.
That's it.
Yeah.
And then you got the right vowel sound.
Cool.
Yeah. And that's the idea that you know, that you don't focus on the right sound. So I won't go through the list
Okay, okay.
Because you can find, I shared a YouTube video
Yeah,
that they
yeah.
go through the position and they show you where to put it in your mouth. And it's a native speaker, so they're going to do it better than I am. But the idea that I wanted to show you is that when you really stretch the consonant, that you're going to get the result without having to explain. Put your mouth here, do this with your tongue, do this, say an A but pronounce an O and think of a U. Like, you don't have to do all that kinds of complicated acrobatics.
Yeah, no,
it's just, you know, focus on the consonant and stretch it.
Yes.
And that would really do it for you.
Yes, yes, that's
Yeah.
cool.
Okay, so
Cool.
with that, we've reached an hour kind of on the dot, and so we're gonna wrap it up for today, and we'll see what happens in next time. So thank you guys for joining us virtually, and I hope everybody has an excellent weekend and an excellent day and an excellent life and so on and so forth. Have a happy weekend. See you later.